Fred Vasseur has just dropped a revelation so powerful it sent shockwaves through the Ferrari garage and rippled across the entire Formula One grid. On the surface, it looked like just another disappointing run for Lewis Hamilton. Frustration over the radio in Monaco, followed by a lacklustre and uninspired showing in Spain. Another GP weekend lost. Another step backwards. But behind the scenes at Maranello, something far more dramatic has been unfolding. Because now, Vasseur has finally spoken out. And what he's unveiled about the SF-25, about Hamilton's role, and about Ferrari's plans for the season is nothing short of revolutionary. This isn't just about driver feedback or one-off engineering miss. It's much deeper. What's happening within Ferrari signals a shift in direction, a bold, urgent move that could rewrite the trajectory of Hamilton's first season in Scarlet. Because, contrary to recent speculation, Vasseur isn't throwing in the towel on 2025. Not even close. Ferrari is doubling down. They're preparing a full-scale technical strike, and if it works, it could change everything. So before we dive into the game-changing details of Vasseur's confirmation, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around until the very end, because what we're about to uncover goes way beyond numbers and lap times. This is about control, pressure, and whether one of Formula One's greatest icons can still fight for glory if Ferrari finally gives him a weapon worthy of the battle. Let's begin at the very core of the crisis. Fred Vasseur has finally admitted what many within the paddock suspected all along. The SF-25 is an incredibly sensitive machine, not wild or erratic at every corner, but extremely narrow in terms of its performance window. And nowhere is that more damaging than in qualifying. While Ferrari occasionally shows promise on Sundays, Saturdays remain their Achilles heel, and it's Lewis Hamilton who's paying the price. Vasseur described the car's behaviour as peculiar, with data revealing irregularities that defy standard logic. In Imola and Miami, Ferrari engineers noticed a bizarre pattern. The SF-25 performed better on scrubbed tyres than on fresh ones. That's not just a setup issue. That's a fundamental imbalance in how the chassis interacts with thermal energy and grip evolution. And for Hamilton, who relies on precision and predictability, this means he can't fully trust the car when it matters most. In one-lap pace. Ferrari understands that poor qualifying leaves Hamilton vulnerable, stuck behind slower cars, managing temperatures in dirty air, and losing the chance to extract his full potential. That's why they're preparing a wave of technical updates, starting with the floor. New floor isn't just an aero patch. It's a structural rethink. The objective? Deliver more stable downforce at the rear, reduce the unpredictable oversteer, and give Hamilton the confidence he's lacked since joining the team. His feedback has been crystal clear. In fast corners, the car simply doesn't hold. This new design aims to redistribute airflow more effectively, creating a more planted rear and allowing Hamilton to attack corners without second-guessing. Then, there's the long-awaited rear suspension update. Ferrari's current configuration offers very little setup flexibility, locking both drivers into compromises that rarely suit individual styles. For Hamilton, this rigidity has made adaptation nearly impossible, but the revised layout, due between Canada and Silverstone, should unlock more freedom in car balance, especially at circuits with tricky traction zones. For someone still acclimatizing to Ferrari's DNA, that extra room to personalize the setup could be decisive. Beyond hardware, Ferrari is recalibrating the brain of the SF-25, starting with tyre behaviour. Too often, Hamilton's flying laps have failed to light up the timing screens simply because the tyres weren't in the right window. Not due to poor driving, but due to software limitations in warm-up strategy. The new logic system is being tailored to offer consistent grip from the first sector to the last, removing the randomness that's crippled his Q2 and Q3 attempts. And it doesn't stop there. Ferrari is overhauling its ERS deployment patterns, a subtle but critical piece of Hamilton's puzzle. He's repeatedly raised concerns about sluggish power delivery in corner exits, especially in tighter sections like those seen in Barcelona or Monaco. Now, the MG UK mapping is being refined to match his throttle rhythm. It's about responsiveness, acceleration, and giving him confidence in the car's punch where it matters most. Ferrari is finally building the powertrain strategy around Hamilton, not just applying a one-size-fits-all. After the Monaco GPS debacle, where miscommunication cost him both track position and trust, Vasseur has initiated changes in how race engineers operate under pressure. It's no secret that Hamilton's rapport with Riccardo Adami is still a work in progress. But every late message, every delayed instruction adds friction. So Ferrari is now retooling how decisions are conveyed, ensuring that Hamilton receives clear, timely input in the language he understands best, direct, focused, and without hesitation. For the first time in weeks, Hamilton has sounded cautiously optimistic. Speaking after the Spanish Grand Prix, he told Sky, "We're not there yet, but we're moving in the right direction. The car is slowly coming to me. The floor change, the tweaks in deployment. It's all helping. There's still a lot to improve, but I feel more in control now." It was a quiet signal that perhaps the worst may be behind him. He also acknowledged Leclerc's strong performances. "Charles has been exceptional. He understands the car in a way I'm still chasing, but I'm learning. Hopefully these changes help me close that gap and drive the car the way it needs to be driven." Make no mistake, this is not Ferrari tinkering at the edges. It's a full commitment to transforming a car that has frustrated two world-class talents into a title-worthy machine. The stakes couldn't be higher, because if these changes stick, if the SF-25 finally begins to behave, Hamilton goes from frustrated newcomer to a genuine contender. The narrative changes, the pressure lifts. The next stretch of races will define whether Ferrari and Hamilton were ever truly meant to succeed together. And if they are, if the car finally becomes a tool instead of a trap, we could be witnessing not just a comeback, but the rebirth of a champion in red. This isn't just about speed, it's about belief. And Ferrari is betting everything on getting that belief back, one upgrade at a time. What lies ahead for Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton isn't just a string of race weekends. It's the moment where everything must come together or risk falling apart completely. This isn't merely about aerodynamic tweaks or power unit calibrations. It's about restoring faith in a project that was meant to be historic. Because Hamilton didn't come to Maranello to participate. He came to conquer. And yet, halfway into his debut season in red, that dream teeters on a knife's edge. The technical team has pulled every lever. A new floor, overhauled rear suspension, reworked energy deployment systems, even communication protocols between pit wall and cockpit. On paper, the pieces are falling into place. But Formula One isn't one on spreadsheets or simulation data. It's one in the high-pressure theatre of qualifying laps, in the chaos of race starts, in the strategic duels of pit stops and safety cars. And that's where the real questions remain unanswered. Can these changes truly stabilise the SF-25 in time? Will the car respond under the floodlights of Montreal, the sweeping curves of Silverstone, or the unpredictable chaos of Spa? Can Hamilton, a driver who thrives on synergy between man and machine, finally find the confidence to push with full commitment? Or will he remain trapped in a car that flatters to deceive? Because if Ferrari gets this wrong, if the upgrades fail to translate from theory to track, the consequences won't just be reflected in lap times, they'll be emotional, psychological, structural. Doubt will creep in. Questions will grow louder. And the narrative around Hamilton's move to Ferrari, one built on legacy, belief and redemption, could shift dangerously towards one of regret, missed opportunity and reputational risk. But if it works, if the upgrades deliver as promised, then we may just be on the brink of witnessing something extraordinary. The return of a fired-up, unshackled Lewis Hamilton. Armed not just with determination, but with a weapon finally worthy of his name. A Ferrari that doesn't fight him, but fights for him. This isn't just a technical inflection point. It's the emotional heartbeat of a season, a statement of intent. And whether it ends in triumph or disappointment, what happens next will define the legacy of this bold partnership. and quite possibly the final act of one of the greatest careers in Formula One history. So, stay tuned, because this story is far from over. In fact, it might just be beginning.